Hello everybody, Edre here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the album by Blackpink. Yes, I'm going to be reviewing the brand new album from K-pop group Blackpink. This is their first Korean album. They released a Japanese album before this one, but this is the first one released this year and first one in Korean. So, bit of background as usual. I'm going to do a bit broader of a background because I briefly talked about this in my Everglow review as well as my BTS review. K-pop and Korean music is not necessarily my first genre that I've heard. So my knowledge on it is nowhere near as big as, say, something such as synth pop. So I will just say that right off the bat. But going off of, their previous album as well as other K-pop groups, I have always viewed Blackpink as being one of the ones, so far, they haven't really proven themselves to be one of the greatest, in my opinion. And I was really hoping on this album that they would make a name for themselves and be amongst the greatest out there. However, I'm not necessarily sure that's what I got, but, let me just go straight into this. The first opening track, How You Like That, has... I know it's probably not right to say, but I consider it K-trap. The reason I say that is because, in many ways, it reminds me a bit more of the trap music you hear over here than the pop music, and especially a lot of the K-pop stuff you're hearing. However, even though it's a bit different and unique, I'll give them that. I feel like the song itself is a bit average. It has an interesting instrumental. I actually did enjoy the instrumental on this song. However, I just personally felt that the vocal flows and everything didn't always match right. And something felt a little off, which left me feeling a really average feeling for that track. However, the second song, Ice Cream, really makes the first song sound really good, if I'm being completely honest with you. This one has Selena Gomez featured on it, and it's annoying. It's honestly just... It's hard to listen to from the melody to the beat. It is just not that great, and it doesn't help that the bad lyrics really, really, really are not that good. Ice cream, chillin', ice cream, chillin'. Yeah, they could have done a better job on that song, especially compared to a lot of the other tracks on this album that are at least better than average. It was a bit shocking for me to hear such a off-putting song like Ice Cream so early on in the album. However, things do pick up a bit on Pretty Savage. It has a really good vocal delivery, and I do kind of like the acoustic portions they incorporated into that track. Once again, though, I wouldn't go out of my way and say it's the greatest thing I've ever heard. However, it's definitely better than some of those other tracks. And it wouldn't be long, though, till the album starts to reach a slump. The song with Cardi B, Bet You Wanna, for example, is just, to me, a very mediocre pop song without much substance or anything like that. Whereas songs like Crazy Over You have good verses, and this is something that comes up quite a bit on this album. Really good verses, really good atmosphere, but then the choruses just fall short of great. And it leaves me with a bad taste in my mouth, even though I like what I heard for most of the song. The chorus is off-putting. And, songs like Love to Hate Me, just another one of the other very average songs on this album. And, the closing track, You Never Know, I think is a very average song, but does its job well as a closer to this album. There's very little good or bad to really say regarding that song. It is what it is. However, I will say it caught me off guard, the orchestral ending on that track. I kind of liked it, not gonna lie. I thought it was a nice little addition, nice little ditty they added at the end of that track. Actually, the end of the album to spice it up. But at the end of the day, I was left feeling on a lot of these songs just very average, lukewarm feelings. From the features that I thought were honestly just bad, to them just very average vocal deliveries, a lot of this felt like your by-the-books album. It didn't feel like it was risking anything. It didn't feel like it was, doing anything too crazy. And, it does feel like a very average album to me. It feels like an album that if there was a lot more time put into it and a lot more structure, just a lot more could have been added to make this album much better, and a lot of it just feels very out of touch, very, very oddly too westernized, It doesn't have that K-pop charm that I've come to really love from a lot of other groups, And I like, once again, one of the things that might be the most frustrating regarding this album is that a lot of the songs build up to a really good atmosphere and some good verses, but then you get to a chorus which is very underwhelming. At the end of the day, unfortunately, I was left very. I was unsatisfied. I was hoping that it would be better, especially considering a lot of the K-pop albums I've heard lately I've been enjoying. Unfortunately, one of them had to break that streak. So yes, the album by Blackpink was far from being the greatest thing I've ever heard, but it was also kind of far from being the worst thing I've ever heard. I have settled on giving this album a solid 5 out of 10. Now, anybody that doesn't know my reviews should know that anything above a 5 is good, anything below a 5 is bad, so a 5 out of 10 is smack dab in the middle, which means I don't love it, I don't hate it, I'm indifferent on it, and I'm a little disappointed, because I will say I had some higher hopes for this album because, you know, I kind of like the way K-pop's been going lately, so I was kind of really hoping that this album would, fuel that a bit more. Fortunately, though, I've left with a very average album. I hope they get better. That is it for now. Blackpink, the album, 5 out of 10.